Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Corry Riley. I'm with the Small Business Development Center here at PennWest Clarion University. If somebody could use the chat and let me know if you can hear me, I would appreciate that. Still just waiting for somebody to let me know that they can hear me. Maybe I have it turned off. I forgot this sometimes gets turned off. There, maybe you can try that now. There's a Q&A as well. Okay, says chat is disabled. Now it should be enabled. There we go. Good, good. The Q&A was outside of my view, so I didn't see it automatically. So welcome to Tax Talk with Corey. We are going to spend the next hour talking about taxes. I will apologize that the allergies are getting me. So if I go off camera real quickly and mute myself real quick, that's because I'm sneezing probably. Um, Today's a beautiful day outside. And let me tell you really quickly a little bit about the SBDC for those of you who this is your first time here. A couple takeaways is that number one, our services are offered at no charge, and number two, the information that we learn from you is confidential. As for what type of services do we offer startup assistance for those of you looking to start a small business. We also offer existing businesses many different services too. So our general services include business planning, a business plan document, marketing, human resources, complying with environmental regulations, helping you set up your LLC or getting your sales tax license or getting your EIN number, just general business related questions that I think all of you could utilize if you reach out to your local SBDC. There are 15 SBDCs across the state of Pennsylvania, so you're probably already connected to one of your local SBDCs. And then there are also SBDCs across the country. So even if you have friends or family somewhere else in this country, tell them about the SBDC as well if they're looking to start a business or if they already own a business. Now, I do want to share with you real quickly here as we're about to get into this training, a little bit of fine print. Any tax advice that I'm going to give you today reflects our professional judgment based on our understanding of the facts provided to us and on current tax law. The SBDC is not responsible for misinformation, as this is a service offered at no charge to entrepreneurs and business owners. So I'm going to be trying to answer your questions the best that I can based on the wee little bit of information that I get from you, because I'm not going to give you time to talk for 30 minutes to tell me your whole story. You're going to get a very short period of time to tell me your story, to ask me what your question is. I will try to answer it. While I am going down through a list of people that I'm going to ask questions to first, because they jumped on first and I kept track of that. They will have a chance to ask questions if they have a microphone. If any of you do not have a microphone or you do not want to talk in this session, then there is the chat option and the Q&A option. So I have another screen over here that I'm looking at right now. Should you type a question in there, I will definitely get to those questions as well. So before we get to your questions, let me talk to you really briefly about use tax. Many people do not know what use tax is, although it is on your personal Pennsylvania income tax return. So if you are filing it yourself through like TurboTax or H&R Block or even the IRS's website and the Pennsylvania Department of Revenue's website, you probably will see a question on your Pennsylvania return that asks if you owe use tax. And you may not know what it is, so you might just click no based on the question that it asks you. And I will say that from a personal standpoint, it's almost impossible, I think, for the state to track down an individual that is having to pay use tax to Pennsylvania. However, on a business tax return or for a business in general, it is very easy to come up with this information. All they have to do is audit you, or they can audit another company by which you may have paid for something from that other company. And if they're auditing that other company, they then, Pennsylvania can then look into other companies' names that they find when they're doing that audit. And also, these states like to talk to each other. And so if New York is auditing a New York company, they will talk to Pennsylvania, and Pennsylvania will get information from that audit, and then they can then audit you as a Pennsylvania company. So um, anything that you put onto your tax return as like an expense, that is then open to be audited. So if you put furniture and fixtures as an asset on your tax return, then that's able to be audited. So just trying to give you some background as we move forward with this. So use tax. If you buy something online or even in person out of state and you bring it into Pennsylvania. So this would be a what do they call it here? Uh, a tangible personal property. Okay, so it's something you can touch, right? You buy something you can touch, but there are some services that are taxable as well. So it may not be something you can touch. But so if you ultimately are buying something that would normally be sales taxable in Pennsylvania, but you buy it out of state and you're not charged a sales tax and you bring it into Pennsylvania, you owe 6% use tax. You're using it in Pennsylvania, so it's a use tax. Now, before you all get up in arms like, wow, boy, another tax, I know. Um, almost every other state across the country has the same thing. Okay, so we're just there with them. Um, if you buy things to use in your business, that's where use tax comes into play. However, if you buy something out of state and you're going to resell it, well, then you don't pay a use tax or a sales tax to your vendor. And we've talked about sales tax previously because you're going to resell it and you're going to charge your end user the sales tax. So this is not talking about things that you buy and resell. This is talking about things that you buy and use in your business. If you buy from like places like Amazon, or maybe like Etsy or something, they already have a sales tax system set up by which they will charge sales tax on sales taxable products. So you don't need to worry about use tax as long as the marketplace that you're using is charging sales tax. It's when we go out and we want to buy from independent companies, go directly to their website or call them because we got a catalog or something. Okay. And we're buying from another business, not through a marketplace, and therefore they don't charge sales tax to you. You then owe that 6% use tax to the state of Pennsylvania. Um, Let me think here. So if you buy something and you owe use tax, if 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 you do not have a sales tax license, so you'll know as a business whether you have a sales tax license or not. If you do not have one, then the way that you submit your use tax to the state of Pennsylvania is through a form called the PA1 form. So I just did a quick Google search a while ago, and I typed in PA form PA-1, and it came up as a result, the very first result I could click on, and it gives you the instructions and so forth for it as well. So you could do it by paper, but of course, if you have your own MyPath account, then you could file it on MyPath. So you should be able to directly go to your MyPath account, find the PA1 on there, and submit it along with the tax. Now, if you have a sales tax license already, then when you go to file your sales tax on MyPath, there is a box right there that asks you if you owe use tax. And if you do, you put a dollar amount in there. Okay. So that's how you're going to pay it. Um, I do believe if you don't have a sales tax license, then the PA1 form is due the month after you bring that item into the state of Pennsylvania. Whereas if you do have a sales tax license, then you just pay your use tax whenever you submit your sales tax. So for some of you, you submit sales tax on a monthly basis. Others of you submit it on a quarterly basis. And some of you submit sales tax on a semi-annual basis, twice a year. And so that's when you would submit your use tax as well. Okay. So that is what I have to talk to you about use tax. If you have further questions, I'll be unmuting you, or you can use the chat, or you can use the Q&A. Also, you can ask any type of business related questions. So today's session is not just centered around use tax. If you have a sales tax question, or you have a expense type of question, or a revenue type of question, or a question about S corporations or LLCs, you can ask me any type of business related question that you want. Um, we like to keep it away from your personal side, although I know sometimes personal and business does commingle, especially when it comes to taxes. Your Schedule C sole proprietorship goes on to your individual tax return, so sometimes it might cross over. But we ultimately really want to stay on the business side. I don't want to get into personal stuff. I am an accountant by trade, so I have that experience to bring to you to be able to answer these questions. But again, I'm basing my answers on a little bit of information that I'm gathering from you. And finally, this session is being recorded. So sometime probably within the next couple of days, it will be uploaded to our YouTube. So if you do a YouTube search for something, let me see if I can find it here real quick. So it's called PennWest Clarion Small Business Development Center. That's our YouTube page. We do have a playlist specifically for Tax Talk with Corry, so you can go there. And there's also some other sessions on there as well. There's a Pennsylvania Tax Series for 2025 that is on there as well. So you want to learn a whole bunch of stuff about Pennsylvania sales tax or Pennsylvania taxes in general, then check out that playlist on YouTube as well. Okay, so the first question I'm going to open this up to is Alonzo. Alonzo, if you're able to unmute yourself, go ahead and unmute yourself. And you can ask yourself a question, ask me a question. Okay, so Alonzo is not unmuting himself. So let's go to the next one. Judy Timchak. Do you have any questions? No questions yet. I see that there. Okay. Sorry, I ask, and then I'm looking at Q&A and chat at the same time. Okay, I'm gonna jump to the chat real quick and see about questions here. Someone's saying, where can I find the use tax on my personal return? So on the form itself, if you're looking at the physical PDF document from the computer, I don't think it's on your PA40. Okay, your PA40 is probably 2 pages long. That's not on there. It's like, like with tax returns, there's always these other pages that go with your tax return. So there's another page there. I'm guessing it's maybe called the PA1 form. I'm not really sure. I mean, if you're using a tax program, I would assume that that tax program asks you the question at some point as you go through the process, saying, do you make purchases out of state by which you don't pay sales tax? And you'd have to mark yes or no. And if you mark yes, there's more questions you have to fill out. So I could think of a tax program that I know it does that. Okay. But as for the tax program that you would use, I can't say for sure. But that's a good question. Let's see here. You don't see, oh, John doesn't see a way to unmute himself. So let me see if there's something. Okay, so let me start over with Alonzo. There, I just clicked allow to talk. I don't know how to make you all able to talk. So Alonzo, if you're able to unmute yourself, you should be able to do so now. And the mute button, if you're looking for the mute button, probably down in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, maybe. That's where it is on mine. Might be somewhere else on yours. But again, you can use the chat as well. Okay, so let's go to the next one. Judy said she had no questions, I believe. And then Tracy Caldwell. Let me find your name here, Tracy, and see if I need to undo something. Allow to talk. So,
Hi, Corey.
hello, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Doing real well. Do you have a question today?
Actually, I have two on that use tax.
Mhm.
What if you pay the sales tax that's in the other state? Like if I was to go to Maryland and pay the sales tax. And the second question is, what if I purchase something from someone that's out of state, from an individual, like I bought a used tent? Would I have to claim that as a use tax?
Okay. So from my understanding of the use tax is if you buy it from a business that charges you a sales tax, then you don't have to pay the tax here in Pennsylvania. So that's the key, is that you are being taxed by somebody. If you're not being taxed by anybody, to my understanding, without doing a deeper research on that particular question, then um, then you would owe the use tax. Okay. Your next question is buying from individuals. Um, if you are buying from an individual that is not in business to buy and resell, then no, you don't owe use tax, because that's like going to a yard sale. So if you're selling something on Facebook, social media, things like that, and you're buying something from there, you don't owe use tax on that, because that's kind of yard sale stuff. However, I do know people that are in the business of buying and selling stuff, buying and selling stuff. So if you can tell that they're a business because they have a business name, then I would be paying that use tax, because if they get audited, it could come back on you as well. But let me differentiate a little bit there then too. I think what you're talking about is you're buying something for yourself as an individual. So again, if you're buying something for yourself as an individual from a business or anybody, it's really hard for them to track you down, if not impossible for them to track you down, and you have to pay use tax. That's the best I can say on recorded video here. Think of it this way. As I mentioned earlier, or I kind of mentioned it, anything you put onto your tax return is eligible to be audited. So if you're buying something new or used for individual use, you're probably not putting it on your tax return anywhere.
Right.
So they almost impossible for them to have a right to tax you, from all of my understandings of this. However, if you are buying for a business, and you're buying especially from another business, then you better pay your use tax. But even there, if you're buying from an individual and you're a business, and you're not charged a sales tax, then you better pay your use tax, because if they come back and even audit you as the business, because everything you buy as a business, you're putting on a tax return because you
Right.
want to write it off. Therefore, you better pay it no matter what. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, yeah. So it was I bought it from an artist, and I would be using it for my business. So it kind of sounds like I would need to you claim that as a use tax.
Yes, yes, because you're going to want to write it off on your business tax return. And plus, because you're buying it from a business and you are a business, they can audit that artist. And I mean, it might be slim to none, but still, they could audit that artist, and then they could gather information and see your name in that audit, and therefore they could come after you and audit you if they so desired.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome. And I will say this about use tax is that for everybody is I've never seen, I've heard of once, I guess, many years ago, probably 15 years ago or something, where Pennsylvania Department of Revenue actually came in and physically audited a local business and for use tax. Um, the way it's normally done is they send letters to small businesses. I call them fishing letters because they're putting this letter on the end of a fishing line and they cast it out to you. And the letter says, "We believe that you owe use tax. Therefore, if you go back through your receipts for the past 3 years, and if you determine that you do owe us use tax, then pay it to us and we won't penalize you at all. Just give us the use tax that we deserve to have and we'll call it fair game." Um, but if you don't send anything to us, and even if you determine that you don't owe use tax, but you still don't send this letter back to us telling us that you don't owe any use tax, then if we do decide to audit you at some point and determine that you do owe us use tax, then you'll not only pay us the use tax, but we're gonna, assess fines and penalties and interest as well. So what they do is they cast out that letter. You read that letter. You do what you got to do with that letter, and either you send it back or well, you have to send it back, and they're going to reel that in as you send it back, and they're going to look at the letter and either accept the money that you gave them or whatever you decide to do. I haven't seen any of them in a while, so maybe they've slowed down on that enforcement. But I mean, just because I don't see them doesn't mean that they're not being used. But it's been several years since I've seen them. But it's still out there, and they still have a right to audit you. Okay, so Alonzo, I think I saw that you were unmuted as well. I'll give you another chance to ask a question here. Okay, so I'm looking here. Okay, Alonzo put in the Q&A. When I purchase supplies, there are a tax charged to your understanding. I'm able to receive credit for those taxes charged. What if what I have understood on my path, I will record those in TPPR if I'm correct with the acronym. Yeah, and I do believe that is the acronym as well as TPPR, something like that. It's like 4 letters. So let's talk about that really quickly. So not really dealing with use tax, but dealing with sales tax. If you are buying something as a business to resell, that's the key word. Okay. Well, I'll go and I'll talk about the other side here in a little bit. But right now, if you're buying something to resell to your customers, and yet your vendor charged you sales tax, you can take a credit on your PA3, that's the sales tax form that you're filling out on my path. You can take a credit on there, the TPPR credit, which basically says that you're a reseller. So whatever you paid to your vendor, you can take a credit of that dollar amount on your tax return. And then the amount of sales tax that you have collected from your end user, that's what you put onto your sales tax return. And so you'll owe X number of dollars in sales tax up here, but then you get this credit down here, which subtracts away from the top, and you'll end up with a difference at the bottom, and that's what you'll pay. Now, while I'm talking about that, I mean, down there also is where that use tax is at, right? So if you owe use tax, you may have like the sales tax up on top, and then you might get to subtract away some TPPR credit, but then you got to add some use tax to it that you owe, and so it can get a little complicated. But it's pretty straightforward as you get out through there. Now, I mentioned the word resell because let's ignore that. Let's say that you're going to buy something out of state and you're going to use it in your business in Pennsylvania, whether it be furniture or computers, whatever it is, that's a sales taxable product. If your vendor charges you sales tax for something that you're using in your business, you do not get that credit because you legitimately owe that sales tax because you're the end user now. You're the one using it. You only get the TPPR credit when you are reselling it. Good question. Okay, let me see here. Kevin's still here. I'm gonna Nope, I think we lost Kevin. Okay, Kevin's not here. John Thomas, I just unmuted you and allow you to talk if you want.
Hi, Corey. I'm still a little confused about when use tax and sales tax is applicable. I thought I heard you say that if I buy and resell a product, I don't have to pay a use or a sales tax on that. And then I thought you just said if the vendor charges me sales tax, I can take a credit on my sales tax computation. Um, if I buy and resell that product, and so I'm still a little confused. I thought I heard you say a little earlier that sometimes the vendor will charge me sales tax, and then I don't owe sales tax. So I'm a little confused of when I
Okay,
they both
okay,
apply.
okay. Let me try to explain it here. Um, let's first assume that you're a reseller and you're buying stuff, you're buying parts, or you're buying finished products. Um, so let's say that you're a toy store, and so you're going to buy toys from your suppliers, and you're going to buy those toys, and then you're going to resell them to little kids and their parents, right? So when you buy your toys from your supplier, they should not charge you sales tax. Now, they will if you do not give them a sales tax exemption form. And on that sales tax exemption form, you would check mark that you are a reseller. So when you give that to your toys, toy vendor, supplier, that will tell them, don't charge me sales tax because I'm a reseller. So they won't charge you sales tax. Now it's in your building, your retail shop, and you're going to sell it to parents and kids. And those are the end users. Those are individuals. So now you're going to charge sales tax to your customer. You're going to hang on to that sales tax for a while until Pennsylvania tells you it's due, and then you're going to pay that to Pennsylvania on the MyPath website. So that's one path. That's one idea. Now we got to switch gears a little bit. So we have that laid out. Put that away now. Let's say that you find a new vendor that you want to buy toys from, and you placed an order but forgot to give them a sales tax exemption form because you're a reseller. So they charged you sales tax. I mean, they have to, by law, they have to charge you sales tax if you don't give them a sales tax exemption form. Now, if they're out of state, that's where you get a little, different there. If they're out of state, they don't have to charge you probably anyhow, unless they're a big enough company, which is a whole nother bear that we haven't talked about. I think in Pennsylvania, an out-of-state company does not have to charge sales tax to Pennsylvanians unless they make $100,000 in sales into the state of Pennsylvania in total for the year. Okay. Um, so so let's assume it's a bigger company. I mean, $100,000 isn't that much in sales, so it's a company that's over that. And for some reason, they charge you sales tax because you did not give them a sales tax exemption form for these toys that you're going to then turn around and resell. And when you sell them to the individual, you by law have to collect sales tax because toys are sales taxable. So you paid sales tax to your vendor, plus you made your customer pay sales tax. So now you're like charging like double the sales tax. One is a smaller, like from your vendor, they're charging you less, right? Because you're buying it at wholesale. So you paid less sales tax over here, and then over here you collected even more because you sold it at a higher price. So the amount that you have to submit to Pennsylvania is the amount from your end user, because that's the law. Now, what you pay to your supplier, you can take a credit for the TPPR credit. You can take on your MyPath because you shouldn't have paid it if you would have given them the sales tax exemption form. So that TPPR credit is basically saying that you paid this sales tax when you shouldn't have paid it. And yet you collected it from your end users. So we're going to give you a credit for that. So that's another path. Okay. Let's see here. And that's all just dealing with sales tax is what that's dealing with. The use tax is another side of it. So let me stop right there and let me ask you, what questions do you still have about those two paths, or what additional questions do you have?
That's helpful from the sales tax.
Okay. And did that answer all the questions?
Yeah, it is. So the use tax then is only when I buy products or components for a product that I'm making, and then I pay a use tax. So in those cases, a vendor should not be charging me use tax, or is that just a Pennsylvania thing?
So you mentioned about making stuff. So you're making stuff to resell. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so a different alternative rather than to buy and resell. Say,
Mhm.
I also have products that I want to make and resell,
Mhm. Okay.
or not that I'm not making. Yeah, I want to make and sell.
Yes. Okay. So there you're a manufacturer, and there's actually on that sales tax exemption form, there is another little tick mark that you can mark down there that says that you are a manufacturer. There's multiple different ones on there. There's like one for farmers and one for nonprofits and so forth. So there's one for manufacturers. So as a manufacturer, anything that you buy, um, raw material, we would call it, okay, from an accounting standpoint, any parts that you would buy in order to make something and then turn it into a one finished product and then sell it to a retailer, um, you give a sales tax exemption form to all of those vendors that have all those different pieces of raw material, and they will not charge you sales tax or use tax. They won't charge you any tax. And then you bring it to your business location, you manufacture it into a finished product, and then you sell it to your customer. Now, if it's an individual, you charge sales tax because it'll be a taxable product, I'm assuming. If it's a wholesaler, if it's somebody else, if it's another business that's going to buy it from you and resell it to somebody else, then guess what? That customer of yours is not the end user because they're a reseller. So they got to give you, keyword gotta, it's a must. They must give you a sales tax exemption form so that you don't charge them sales tax. But if they don't give you that form, charge them sales tax. Now, this is especially if we're talking about Pennsylvania companies. If you're selling to outside of Pennsylvania, then you eh, sales tax across the country is a bear. So you better know what each state's law is in order to determine whether you have to charge sales tax or not to that out of state customer. And I don't know all those rules for all 50 states. So you either need to sell through a marketplace that takes care of that for you, or you need to have a software or something built into your website that takes care of all the sales tax for you, or have a really, really good accountant that specializes in sales tax across the country. Okay, so I hope I answered that question there, and multiple questions. Those were really good questions, and especially about what we're talking about right now. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to another person here. Let me see. Um, Anne Folk. Do we still have Anne with us? We do. So Anne, if you would like to ask a question.
No questions at this point. Thanks.
Okay, you're welcome. So let me see here. I'm going to come back over to the chat. Okay, Tim. Okay, Tim, I just allowed you to talk if you want to talk.
Can you hear me, Corey?
I sure can.
Excellent. Thanks for doing this. This is really helpful. I just want to get that out there right away.
Good. You're
Um,
welcome.
I think I did find the use tax on my personal returns. They were in a PA 40.
Okay.
So, you know, I'm just starting the business, so I'm just showing minimal losses at the moment. Anyway, you had mentioned some links to, I think, the Clarion website about tax resources.
Okay.
You could put some of the links in the chat. That'd be fantastic, or include them in the follow-up email that's going to go out.
Okay.
Other than that, I don't know if you have any kind of page with tips and I don't know, best practices for just starting up a business, and things that can be deducted, things that can't be deducted, and it's all brand new.
Okay, good. So hopefully, are you working with an SBDC right now?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Outside Philadelphia.
Okay, good, wonderful. Yeah, make sure you stay in touch with your local business consultant and ask them questions, email them, set up meetings with them, phone calls, video meetings, whatever it might be. But make sure you have a list of questions. Also, there are lots of training. So if you're registered as a client, you should start getting, I think, like a newsletter from either and or your local SBDC as well as the PA SBDC. That's our parent organization that watches over us. They send out an email as well of different webinars, and most of those webinars are free. They're available across the state. You can watch them from any of the SBDCs. There is so much information you can be learning from those trainings, and I would definitely tell you to attend those. And I attend some of them as well because I want to keep learning too.
Very valuable. I probably get an email once a day or once every other day from one or the other, and also from SCORE.
Oh, yes. Yes, definitely. So take advantage of all those trainings, take advantage of your consultant because SBDC services are offered at no charge. So definitely reach out to them. The one thing I will ask
would be, I see on your title or your screen, it says business consultant and accounting consultant. I haven't found one of those in my local chapter, if you will. Does everyone have one, or some places not? Oh, sorry.
So just 1 minute, I'm copying a link over here. Okay, so apologize. Okay, so I mean, I do have like the maybe a little extra accounting experience than probably what most other consultants have, but every consultant has like their own specialties, and every SBDC has multiple specialties within it. So I always tell people that you start with your local SBDC and you ask questions, and if they can't answer the question, they normally try to reach out to other SBDC consultants to say, hey, can anybody answer this question? And pretty much I would say all SBDCs across the state know who has certain specialties. It seems like they know I'm accounting because they do reach out to me from across the state. But there's also other consultants that they reach out to for accounting as well. So it's not just me. I'm getting to be an old timer with the SBDC. I've been here for like around 20 years. So they kind of have gotten to know me over the years, these different consultants. So I would say start with your local SBDC, with your local consultant, asking them questions. And if they don't know the answer, they probably will find the person for you to talk to then.
Very good. Thanks, Corey.
You're welcome. Okay, so I have put some links in the chat. One is for our YouTube that I was telling you that this video would be uploaded to. And then the zillion forms, I guess I didn't even notice it was from a different website. the third link is right from the IRS's website. That is the Schedule C. So you had asked about questions. You had asked about expenses. So check out that Schedule C, because that Schedule C is going to have a list of expenses on there for you to categorize your receipts, so that at the end of the year, you know you can hand this Schedule C over to your accountant, who then could do your taxes. Also, it's good to set up a bookkeeping system. There is, different bookkeeping systems that you can pay for. There are some free ones out there. Again, if you talk to your local SBDC consultant, they can tell you about it as well. We also, at our SBDC, we do have a spreadsheet, if you're good with Microsoft Excel spreadsheets, that we have created as a bookkeeping system that you use to track your income throughout the year, and you use to track your expenses throughout the year, and then it actually summarizes it into what we call an income statement, which is what you need for, tax purposes, but also for your own purposes to analyze your business.
Are some better than others for just starting a business?
Say that again.
Are some better than others for just starting a business? Obviously, I don't need a lot of tools at this point.
Right. No, I mean, I think all the spreadsheets are going to be about the same. So you almost just gotta like talk to people and say, which one do you recommend? And then you can look into it online and decide if it's for you. You can take notes on this if you want. Wave Bookkeeping is a free bookkeeping system. There is a paid side to it as well, but you could start out at least with the free side. So that's Wave, like a water wave bookkeeping. There's QuickBooks. QuickBooks has a simple start, which is for beginners, right? There's a fee for it, though, I believe, still. And then, when you're looking at these different softwares, you'll see that there's different levels to it. So simple start for QuickBooks is the simplest, and then it builds from there and gets more, it offers more, but it costs more. So you'll have to look to see what they offer and where you want to start at. But for you, you might want to just start with simple start. There's Patriot software. It is made in Ohio, so that's kind of cool. We have an American company there. So Patriot software, there's a fee for it. And then again, we have this spreadsheet that the SBDC here at PennWest Clarion has created, and I put my email in the chat, so you can, if you want to check out this, if you have Microsoft Excel and you think you can use a spreadsheet, then you can email me, put in the subject bookkeeping spreadsheet, so that I can just quickly reply, attaching it to your email and send it back to you. Good questions, good thoughts. Okay. Let me see here. Let me come over here to the Q&A. Okay, what if it is supplies to make the end product that you're selling to the end user? I think we talked about that. So what if it is supplies to make the end product? Yeah, so you won't charge you shouldn't have to pay sales tax. You'll give a sales tax exemption form to your supplier, because you're not the end user. You're not going to use it in your business. You're going to manufacture it and sell it to somebody else. And then another question here. I received notice from the state that my 2019 through 2020 PAS return wasn't received. To my understanding, I need to resend the filing with a PAS/PA65 form, looking for some clarity. So I'm thinking you're talking about an S corporation when you say the PAS form, but let me see something here. There's the PA65, that's for partners. Wait, to me quickly here. Pennsylvania is never easy. So I'm going to assume the PAS is let me scroll down here, was relating to my PA40 state filing. Well, okay, so let me try to relate all of this to you. I mean, if you get a letter from somebody like from Pennsylvania or the federal government or the local government that says they didn't receive a tax form, you probably need to file a tax form then. So no matter what form it is, you'll need to send what they're asking for. So then you came down and you said, my question was relating to my PA 40 state filing. So so again, if they didn't receive something, then yes, you'll have to file it. I'm just trying to even read farther into it. Is if you filed an S corporation tax Pennsylvania tax return or a partnership Pennsylvania tax return, and you filed it, but Pennsylvania's saying that we're missing a form that's related to your business, that would probably be what we call an RK1 form that your PA 40 is missing from your business. So you need to do an amendment, or if just follow what the letter says. If the letter says, hey, we're missing this, just send this to us and then we can process your return, then you just need to send it to the address that's on that letter. Good question. Definitely respond to those letters. Okay. Turn, see what other questions there might be here. Okay, I don't see any other let's see here. Carla, do you have any questions? And let's see if okay, Carla says nothing at this time. James, do you have a question?
Yeah, Corey, you touched on this earlier, but just for clarification. So say we're working with clients that are selling online. Now, certainly they'd have to charge sales tax for their Pennsylvania customers. But when they sell product to out-of-state customers online, is there any responsibility on their end to collect sales tax?
Okay, so if you are selling products to other people, whether it be individuals or businesses that are out of state, do you have to charge sales tax? Yes, if you're above the threshold. Well, let me back up. Yes, if you're selling a sales taxable product, and that is sales taxable in that state, say the state of Utah, okay? And if you are over whatever their threshold is, like I said, Pennsylvania has $100,000 threshold. So I don't know what Utah's threshold is. So if you sell enough stuff into that state, enough sales taxable products into that state that you're above a threshold, then you have to charge sales tax. That'll be their law. They'll have some sort of threshold like that. If you're under that threshold, then no, you wouldn't have to charge sales tax. But with that said, I have zero idea what Utah's rules are. So I can't really answer that question definitively because I don't know Utah and I don't know really any other states other than Pennsylvania. That's the only state I really know for sales tax. So it's hard for me to answer your question. And that's why I tell people you're best to either one, sell through a marketplace like Amazon, Etsy, one of those that actually knows and charges sales tax if necessary. And or there's I want to call them plugins because I can't think of what it is. There's other softwares that you can build like into your website to charge sales tax. And I'm assuming that those plugins for your website, I'm assuming they know what the sales tax law is for all of the states across Pennsylvania or across the country and would know whether they need to charge sales tax or not to those out of state customers.
Okay, thanks, Corey.
You're welcome. Okay, anyone else have any questions? Okay, Tracy over here says, I want to find a business accountant. Do you have any recommendations of what to look for? So main thing is when you're talking to an accountant is ask them if they have experience doing business tax returns. Depending on the type of business that you are, if you're a sole proprietorship, a partnership, an S corporation, an LLC, a nonprofit, if you're structured like that. Ask them if they have experience with that type of business. And then the next step you could go is tell them what type of business you are, as in you're a toy store, or you are um, um, a a manufacturer, but tell them what type of manufacturer you are. Okay, or you're a realtor. Tell them what kind of business you are, and they'll tell you like whether that's something that they deal with or that they don't deal with. Um, it's probably a good idea to, if you wanted to check out on the internet to see if there's any reviews out there as well for those people, to see if they have good reviews or not. I also want to talk a little bit about price, since we're dealing with this right now. Is you got high price, mid price, lower price, right? So high price is going to be your big box um, tax preparers like H&R Block, and there's a couple others out there like that are going to be much higher price. Also, certified public accountants are going to be up there as well. Most of them are. And then below that, you'll have EAs. Those are enrolled agents with the IRS. They're a step down and price wise as well from the CPA. Then from down below there, you have your general accountants that have probably some sort of different certifications, but they don't have that CPA or that EA certification. Um, but so their price is going to be a bit lower. And then even lower than that are the people that you don't want to be in touch with, probably because they're the ones operating not properly. So every accountant should have what we call a P10. That's an identifying number with the IRS. And there really are, and I've known of them locally, there are people out there doing tax returns for other people and other businesses that don't even have a P10. Okay. I would never depend on those type of people because they're not even following the rules. So I'd be afraid of what they're going to do to me. So you definitely make sure they have a P10. If they're in business, if they have a location and such, they probably do have a P10, but it's something worth double checking to make sure. And so above that, anyone that has a P10, from the general accountant to the EA to the CPA, any of those are perfectly fine. Just make sure that they have the type of experience that I talked about.
Are you saying P as in Peter and the number 10?
P10. P as in Peter, and then T as in Tom. N. So let me tell you what it means. Prepare tax identification number. Prepare tax identification number.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Absolutely. I know what that's like, trying to catch those letters. So any accountant should have that identification number through the IRS. And I do believe you can even look up all accountants that have these P10s. I believe you can look them up online as well to verify that they have it. I'm just not sure what that website is through the IRS. Okay, any other questions? I'm going to let you, I think all of you are set up to where now you can unmute yourself if you want. So if you have a question, go ahead and unmute yourself and I'll call on you, because I don't see anything else in the chat or the Q&A. While you're thinking about this, do remember, we have about 5 more minutes, so you can ask anything dealing with your business. It doesn't have to be sales tax or even tax related. If you have a business related question, feel free to ask it of me. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions. Let me just throw out a couple little things. If I see somebody unmute themselves, I'll stop as soon as I can to let you talk. If there are any of you that are artists, I know somebody mentioned an artist. If you are an artist and there is a grant that you could look into, it's called, and here comes those letters, the CE as in egg, A as in apple, P as in Paul, and it's a SEEP grant. It is a grant for artists. Now, these are, exactly what you would think of art wise, but also marketers fit into this. I think I saw that architecture fits into it as well. So it's something that you could look into. Talk to your local SBDC consultant. They would definitely know about it, and they would be able to help you determine if you're eligible or not eligible for this grant. It's a $2,000 grant. It's pretty easy to apply for, and your SBDC consultant should help you submit for that. It can be used for most anything within your business. There are rules, of course, but if you want to just think of it as most things, it can be used for marketing, buying supplies, things like that, buying equipment as well. So definitely check into that. There is also some low interest loans out there for all types of businesses, depending on your type of business. Through Pennsylvania, through the federal government, through the, which is like the SBA and such. And also locally, there can be some local loans that if you're looking to start your business or looking to expand or buy a new piece of equipment, make sure you talk to your local SBDC consultant about that because of these different loan programs. And we definitely want to look at low interest if at all possible. Now, you might be watching the news a little bit. There's a chance that we're going to be going into a recession. And if we go into a recession, interest rates will come down, but lenders will get tighter with their money. So there's like a sweet spot, but I don't know where that sweet spot's at as to when the interest rates are low and the banks are ready to lend out the money. So that's why I'm saying there's other types of low interest loans out there that you'd want to look into. We have 4 minutes if anyone has any final questions. So your local SBDC, talk to your consultant. Definitely talk to them about marketing, talk to them about human resources if you're going to hire employees, if you're planning to sell to the government or planning to sell internationally, talk to your local business consultant. We have services for all of those things. Just feel free to reach out to us. But if we don't have any other questions, I think I'm going to let you all go. And looks like it's lunchtime. Some of you are probably getting hungry. Okay. Well, then take care, everybody. It was great chatting with you. We'll see you back here next month. Bye-bye.